Hello again. Welcome to my channel. I'm Maheshi. This is the channel where we look at life in the broadest terms possible and we dig deep and rise high to see the bird's eye view, to find the answers to the big questions of life. Today, it's about the role bias and prejudice plays in our life, how it robs us of our happiness, and more dangerously, how it creates our future, how it traps us in difficult, conflict-ridden futures. And I'm going to illustrate it with Dr. Brian Weiss's book, Same Soul, Many Bodies, where we are going to take the case of Evelyn. Now, Evelyn was the perfect, successful executive in her mid-30s. Her hair was cropped short, she had a Gucci bag, Rolex watch and Chanel suit. She had some diamonds around her neck, but her eyes didn't have any light. In fact, the light came from the diamonds only. And as soon as she shook hands with Dr. Brian Weiss, she said, "I need help." She said it in a rather loud way. "I'm unhappy." There was silence. "Go on," said Dr. Brian Weiss. "I have of late lost all my mirth," she said. Now, that sounded like an unusual phrase for her to say, but then Dr. Weiss remembered that that's a statement from Hamlet. And that is natural because sometimes patients use other people's words to mask their own feelings. And Dr. Weiss waited for her to continue. It took a while, but then she said, "I used to love my job, but now I hate it. I used to love my husband, but now I hate him. Even when I have to meet him, I can't bear it." "When did this change come?" asked the good doctor. "With the suicide bombings." Now, Dr. Weiss was used to the usual causes of these emotional changes. For example, a loss of a parent, a loss of a job, a loss of health. But she was in perfect health and she was doing successfully in her work. So, suicide bombings, and she didn't seem to be affected physically. Then she began to weep. "The poor Jews, the poor Jews." She took a deep breath. Then she said, "Those," expletive I would not repeat, "Arabs." Now the swear word seemed out of character, an indication of the rage beneath it. "You are Jewish then?" "With all my heart and soul," she said. "Your parents, were they passionate as you?" "No, they weren't religious, neither am I, and they didn't care about Israel. To me, it's the one country that matters. The Arabs are out to destroy it." Now, at this point, let me interject. I live in a multiracial country, a South Asian country, Sri Lanka. And I love to celebrate Christmas, Vesak, the Hindu celebrations like Diwali, and all the Muslim celebrations because our neighbors bring biryani for us. So diversity, I think, is fantastic. It's just as if all the Spice Girls were baby Spice, would it be as exciting as a group? If all were just Sporty Spice? Now, I love the fact that there is Sporty Spice, Baby Spice, Posh Spice, and Ginger Spice. It just adds that variety. And that, I believe, is how our society is also very interesting, multicultural. This whole world is meant to celebrate differences. So that being the point of view that I take great comfort in, I will come back to this story, but maybe you might feel a tiny prick if you have a bias when I mention this story. But remember, this is Evelyn's story, and through Evelyn, we are going to learn a powerful lesson. It's have the patience, not be for it or against it, but to be with it. And because when we reach the very end of this story, you and I are going to be completely different, better, and our future as a result will also be better. And it's amazing how this story proves it. It's fantastic case study. So let's dive right in. And your husband? Asked Dr. Weiss. He claims he's Jewish, but he doesn't care about Israel either. It's one of the reasons I hate him, said Evelyn. She stared at Dr. Weiss antagonistically, maybe because he remained calm in the face of all that passion. Then she said, look, I've lost my appetite for food, for love, for business. I'm frustrated and unsatisfied. I can't sleep. I know I need psychotherapy. You have a good reputation. Help me. So you can find out where the anger and anxiety come from. I want my happiness back. She hung her head. I go to the movies, I go shopping, I go to bed, and I think about how much I hate the Arabs. So she goes on there, and I think we don't need to go into all that detail. We get the gist of her passion and her antagonistic feelings based on her bias. Now, Dr. Weiss tries the traditional psychotherapy, but there doesn't seem to be any causes in her childhood. So as a result, he asks her, would you like a regression into a past life? And she says, yes. And see what happens next. Dr. Weiss says, go back to the time and place where your anger first began. It's World War II, she said in a deep masculine voice, sitting up straight with an expression of disbelief. I'm a Nazi officer, a member of the SS. I have a good job. It is to supervise the loading of Jews into the cattle cars that will take them to Dachau. Now, if you have any particular sensitivity to this topic, you have a choice to move forward into the next segment of this video, maybe skip about 40 seconds. But if you want to learn along with me and the others and to benefit from Evelyn's experience, because we don't have to make all the mistakes to learn, we can learn through other people's mistakes, right? So if you really want soul growth and you want to transform your life in these 5 minutes, stay with me, stick with it. Even if it's uncomfortable, stick with it. If it's interesting, really stick with it, right? So then he goes on to say, if any of them tries to escape, I shoot them. I don't like to do that. It's not that I don't care about them dying. It's that I hate to lose a bullet. Bullets are expensive. We've been told to save ammunition whenever possible. Now, this is a man in a military from a previous era. This was his thinking, and even though she's relaying these memories as Evelyn, she's shocked and she's in agony that she should be saying this, and her body is trembling and she has a tone of horror in her voice as she says it, because she's judging it through the present life of Evelyn, who cares deeply about Jews, and also seeing the past memories of her atrocious behavior towards the Jews under the life conditions where that seemed like a good thing to do at the time. What she was paid to do, expected to do, what she was rewarded for doing, and he, the German soldier, had no difficulty doing that. But you can see now, the subject is Jews, and now in this life as Evelyn, she is trying to overcompensate, but she hasn't grown. She still got her hatred. She still has her bias, though the object of the bias or the hate has changed. Now she hates the group that is opposing and making trouble for the Jews, which happens to be Arabs in this present time. But it's going to be different in another time, right? And it was different in another time. So it's her characteristics that you see unchanging. Then Evelyn went to another part of her German life. The Allied army had entered Poland, and there the German soldier, who is now Evelyn, lost her life. And in her life review, I hope you know what a life review is. We all have a life review at the time of passing. We have visions of everything we have done and the effects of that. For example, if we hurt someone, we would feel it as if it's us who's undergoing that hurt. So you see it through the other person's perspective and truly experience the horror, or if it's a good deed, the joy that you created in another being. So this is a very good reason why we should have more control of how we treat others. But more than that, there's a bigger story here, and that is the fact that bias is something that continues. And Dr. Weiss has discovered that the surest way to be incarnated into a particular group of people defined by religion, race, nationality, or culture is in fact to hate those people in a previous life. So if you hate a particular group now, that means you might be born as one of them. Time to uproot our biases and prejudices, because this ain't a winning game if we don't. Then Dr. Brian Weiss gets a major idea, a revolutionary idea, and he says, I want to try an experiment. Are you game for it? But let me outline what it is, just so that it's very clear to you. Because we are going from past to present to future, I want to do this in 2 videos and gain all the tools and the lessons so that we can shape our future. So what does Brian Weiss do? Actually, he progresses her into her future life. Because this book, Same Soul, Many Bodies, is the book where he finally talks about future life progression. In his first book, Many Lives, Many Masters, it was all about regressions. But now we are in a particular place in humanity's evolution where we should be able to talk very comfortably about future life progression as well, especially because we've got the cases to prove it. So there are 2 ways, 2 separate sessions. One, future life progression for Evelyn, that Dr. Brian Weiss did, was to say, right, if you don't change at this point, if you hold on to the same biases at this point, let's go and see what your future life would be. The second, on a separate session, was, if you change the bias, you root it out, understand that we are all one, and embrace all humanity as one, then what is your future? We will find out the answers with these real life case studies. So please join with me again in part 2 of this video. And before you do that, please go down below and give me the thumbs up, as well as subscribe to this channel.